The galactic assessment chamber hummed with the nervous energy of 1,000 different species, each waiting its turn at the universal classification scanner. Dr. Mira Chen stood in line, surrounded by beings that looked like they'd stepped out of someone's fever dream. To her left, a crystalline entity pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. To her right, something that resembled a sentient cloud of metallic dust shifted restlessly. Next. The automated voice boomed through the chamber. Mira stepped forward, her worn combat boots clicking against the pristine floor. She'd been dragged here by the Galactic Council after Earth's recent induction into their little club of civilized worlds. Every species had to be scanned, catalogued, and ranked. It was supposedly for everyone's safety, knowing who could crush whom with a thought, who could survive in what atmosphere, who was prey, and who was predator. The Vorthan administrator, a 7-foot-tall mantis-like creature with compound eyes that reflected Mira's image 1,000 times over, clicked its mandibles impatiently. State your designation for the record. Dr. Mira Chen, Earth human, and before you ask, yes, we're the species that figured out nuclear fission before we figured out how not to poison our own water supply. Real geniuses, I know. Her voice dripped with sarcasm. The Vorthan's antennae twitched, their equivalent of an eye roll. Step into the scanner, please. The scanner itself was impressive, Mira had to admit. A cylindrical chamber of pure energy fields, designed by the architects, the oldest known species in the galaxy. It could read everything: genetic potential, psionic abilities, physical limitations, technological aptitude, aggression indices, survival probability across 10,000 different scenarios. The works. Mira stepped inside, feeling the energy fields wash over her like warm static. Around the chamber, dozens of species had gathered to watch. It wasn't every day a new species got scanned, and humans were the talk of the galaxy. The hairless apes who'd somehow survived their own stupidity long enough to achieve faster-than-light travel. Beginning scan, the automated voice announced. The energy fields intensified, probing every cell, every synapse, every quantum probability of her existence. Mira felt it digging deep, accessing not just what she was, but what her species could become. The scanner didn't just read the present, it calculated potential. She heard gasps from the crowd. Then silence. Then more gasps. What's happening? Someone whispered in Zentari, which Mira's universal translator converted seamlessly. The scanner's lights, which normally cycled through a rainbow of colors as it categorized abilities, had turned pitch black. Not the absence of light, but an active, consuming darkness that seemed to pull light into itself. Technical malfunction, the Vorthan administrator chittered nervously, tapping at his control panel. Please remain still while we... The scanner exploded with light. Every screen in the chamber, and Mira later learned, every screen in the entire station, displayed the same message. Species, human. Classification, error. Threat level, unclassified apex. Warning, containment protocols ineffective. Warning, predictive models insufficient. Warning, species operates outside known parameters. The silence that followed was deafening. Then the details started scrolling. Adaptability, exceeds measurement capacity. Survival instinct, potentially infinite. Pack bonding, crosses species barriers. Spite motivation, unmeasurable. Combat evolution, exponential under threat. Psychological warfare capacity, extreme. Pattern recognition, anomalous. Tool use, will weaponize anything. Vengeance drive, caution multigenerational. Creativity index, chaotic variable. Admiral Korth, the summit military representative, a being that looked like someone had crossed a shark with a tank and given it tentacles, stepped forward. His species, the Craven, were the current apex predators of known space. Were. This is impossible, he growled, his translator giving his words a metallic edge. No species can be unclassifiable. The scanner has categorized over 3 million species across. 4,200,017, Mira corrected, stepping out of the scanner with a grin that showed perhaps too many teeth. I read your database while I was being scanned. Neat trick, by the way, linking the scanner to your central systems. Really secure. Definitely no way that could go wrong. The Vorthan administrator's compound eyes somehow managed to widen further. You accessed our systems? Through the scanner? That's not possible. The neural interface only works one way. Mira shrugged. Funny thing about humans, we're really good at doing impossible things. It's kind of our thing. That and holding grudges. Speaking of which. She turned to face the assembled crowd. Which one of you authorized the abduction of our colony ship 3 months ago? The one with 500 families aboard? The one you said was lost in a cosmic anomaly? The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. A Zelothy diplomat, serpentine and covered in scales that shifted through camouflage patterns, slithered forward. That was classified information. How could you possibly? No. Mira laughed, but there was no humor in it. Here's the thing about humans that your fancy scanner is trying to tell you. We're pattern seekers. We're puzzle solvers. And we're really, really good at revenge. Not the hot-blooded, immediate kind. The cold, calculated, served at absolute zero kind. She pulled out a small device from her pocket. Nothing fancy, just a standard human communicator. Sarah, you getting all this? A voice crackled through, transmitted to the entire chamber's audio system. Crystal clear, document. The scanner's data stream was very enlightening. We've got the locations of all their black sites, their military deployments, and, oh, this is interesting, the real reason they've been classifying species. Admiral Quarth's tentacles writhed in what Mira recognized as barely controlled rage. You dare threaten the Galactic Council? One barely spacefaring species against the combined might of. Threat. Mira interrupted. Who said anything about threats? I'm a doctor. I took an oath not to harm. But see, that's the beautiful thing about humans. We're not a monolith. I might be a healer, but Sarah is there? She's what we call a hacker. And her brother Mike? Career military. Their mom, Rebecca? She teaches kindergarten, but she also happens to be our leading expert in bioweapons. Weird combination, I know, but she says 5-year-olds are excellent practice for dealing with hostile aliens. The crowd was backing away now, leaving Mira standing alone in an expanding circle of space. The scanner's trying to warn you, Mira continued, her voice carrying through the dead silence. Not because we're stronger than you, we're not. Not because we're smarter, debatable. But because we're unpredictable. We domesticated wolves by making friends with them. We saw horses and thought, I bet I could ride that. We discovered radiation, and our first thought was, can we make a bomb with this? She paused, looking around the room. We're the species that will adopt anything as a pet, including things that try to eat us. We're the species that will pack bond with a Roomba. That's a cleaning robot, by the way. We named them. We give them personalities. And if someone breaks our Roomba, we get upset. Now imagine, her voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it, what we do when someone takes 500 families. The scanner behind her was still displaying warnings, adding new ones every second. Empathy, selective application. Moral flexibility, situation dependent. Innovation under pressure, exponential. Spite store, generational. Group coordination, hive mind capable when threatened. Individual variation, extreme. Recommended action, do not antagonize. Your scanner's not broken, Mira said. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, warning you. See, every other species you've scanned, they fit into nice, neat categories. Predator. Prey. Builder. Warrior. Scholar. But humans? We're all of them and none of them. We're chaos made flesh, held together by coffee, spite, and an inexplicable need to see what happens when we push the big red button marked Do Not Push. A younger Vorthan, probably an intern judging by the nervous twitch of his antennae, raised a trembling claw. But your application to the Galactic Council spoke of peace and cooperation and… Oh, we absolutely want peace, Mira nodded enthusiastically. We'd love to be friends. We make great friends. Ask the dogs. Oh wait, you can't, because we changed them so much through selective breeding that they're basically a different species now. But they love us. Stockholm Syndrome? Maybe. But it works both ways. We'd die for our dogs. We'd kill for them too. She let that sink in. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to return our colony ship. All 500 families, unharmed. You're going to provide full compensation for their trauma. And you're going to tell us exactly why you've been kidnapping and experimenting on species you deem inferior. Admiral Quarth's laugh was like grinding metal. And if we refuse? You're one human on a station with 1 million council citizens. What could you possibly? Every light in the chamber went out. In the darkness, Mira's voice was almost cheerful. Did I mention humans can see reasonably well in the dark? Evolution's funny like that. Persistence predators, you know. We just keep coming. And coming. And coming. The lights flickered back on. Mira hadn't moved, but somehow, she seemed more dangerous standing still than any predator in motion. You've got 24 hours to discuss it, she said. That should be enough time for you to realize that your scanner isn't malfunctioning. It's the first piece of technology you've built that's actually working correctly when it comes to humans. She headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and just so we're clear, we've already infiltrated your station. Not with soldiers or spies, but with something far more dangerous.
What?
The Vorthan administrator's voice cracked.
Mira grinned. Tourists. With cameras. And social media accounts.
And opinions about your food. The one-star reviews alone will destroy your economy. She walked out, leaving behind a chamber full of the galaxy's most powerful beings, all staring at a scanner that continued to flash one word over and over.
Apex.
23 hours and 47 minutes later, the Galactic Council's emergency session was in complete chaos. Not the organized Robert's Rules of Order type chaos, the kind where a Zentari ambassador was literally eating his own credentials while a Vorthan security chief had locked himself in a supply closet, chittering about the reviews, dear gods, the reviews. Dr. Mira Chen sat in the witness chair, sipping what the station called coffee but tasted more like someone had described the concept of coffee to someone who'd never experienced joy. Across from her, the full council assembly had gathered, 3,000 representatives from every major civilization in known space. The humans have gone too far. Admiral Korth slammed a tentacle on his podium, leaving a dent in the reinforced titanium. They've corrupted our entire data network with something called memes. My own soldiers are sharing images of something called cats, instead of following orders. That's nothing, wailed the Zealoty trade minister, his scales flickering through distress patterns. They've introduced pineapple pizza to 17 systems. It's causing civil wars. Actual wars over fruit on bread with cheese. Mira tried very hard not to laugh.
She failed.
You find this amusing? The High Arbitrator, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline matrix, pulsed with indignation. Your species has caused more disruption in one day than the Scourge Wars did in a century. First off, Mira held up a finger, comparing us to the Scourge is just rude. They were trying to eat everyone. We're just leaving reviews and sharing our culture. Secondly, you still haven't answered my question about our colony ship. The chamber fell silent. The elephant, or rather, the missing 500 humans, in the room. Finally, a figure stood in the shadows of the upper gallery. Mira recognized the species, architects, the ancient ones who'd built the scanner technology. This one was old even by their standards, its biomechanical form shifting between states of matter like it couldn't quite decide on being solid or gas. Dr. Chen, its voice resonated directly in everyone's minds, bypassing sound entirely. Your species presents a paradox. We get that a lot, Mira replied. Usually, right before someone tries to kill us or study us. Sometimes both. The architect descended, no flowed, down to the main floor. The colony ship was taken by a rogue faction. Not for experimentation, but for protection. The entire chamber erupted in confusion. Mira, however, went very, very still. Explain, she said, her voice cold enough to freeze hydrogen. The scanner technology is not just for classification, the architect admitted. It's predictive. It shows us potential futures, probability streams. Every species we've scanned, we could predict their path, their rise, their plateau, their eventual decline. Every species but yours. The architect waved an appendage that might have been an arm, and holographic displays filled the chamber. Thousands of timeline projections, each showing different galactic futures. In timelines where humanity is destroyed early, the galaxy stagnates and dies within 3 millennia. In timelines where humanity is enslaved, rebellions consume everything within 500 years. In timelines where humanity is left alone. The displays showed explosion after explosion of growth, innovation, and change. But also chaos, unpredictability, and transformation on a scale that made several representatives physically ill. Your species is a catalyst, the architect continued. You change everything you touch. You weaponize friendship. You make pets of predators. You find family in other species. You hold grudges across generations but forgive in an instant if someone shares their food. You are walking contradictions that somehow work. Touching, Mira said dryly. Still doesn't explain the kidnapping. The faction believed that by studying humans in isolation, they could understand the catalytic effect. Control it. They were fools. The architect's form flickered with what might have been regret. They didn't understand that isolated humans are not human at all. You define yourselves through connection, through challenge, through others. Where are they? Mira's question was not a question. It was a demand wrapped in a promise of consequences.
Safe. Unharmed.
Angry. The architect actually shuddered. Very, very angry. They've already organized 3 escape attempts, formed a government, started 2 agricultural projects, and somehow built a distillery.
In 3 months. With no tools. They made tools. From their beds. And the walls.
And something they call toilet wine, that technically qualifies as a chemical weapon under 17 different treaties. Despite everything, Mira smiled. Yeah, that sounds about right. Humans under pressure are like carbon. Squeeze us hard enough and you either get diamonds or explosions. Sometimes both. We will return them immediately, the High Arbitrator interjected quickly. With full compensation and formal apologies.
And?
Mira raised an eyebrow.
And? Admiral Korth sputtered.
What more could you possibly? You've been classifying species for thousands of years, Mira stood, addressing the entire assembly. Deciding who's predator, who's prey, who's worthy of full membership, who gets protected status, which we all know means controlled. Your entire galactic order is built on a hierarchy defined by that scanner. She pointed to the still malfunctioning classification display, which had given up on warnings and was now just displaying question marks. But here's the thing, humans don't fit hierarchies. We make friends with our food. We'll pack bond with anything. Yesterday, I saw one of our engineers teaching a Vorthan intern something called rock, paper, scissors, and now there's a tournament organized. We're not apex predators, we're apex adapters. We're not the strongest or the smartest or the fastest. We're the species that looked at the universe and said, bet we can make friends with it. The Zealothi diplomat slithered forward. What are you proposing?
Simple.
Scrap the classification system. It's broken anyway, we broke it just by existing. Judge species by their actions, not their biological imperatives. Stop segregating based on predator and prey dynamics. Let species interact freely.
That's insane. Admiral Korth protested.
Without classifications, without order, there would be chaos.
Chaos.
Mira laughed, genuinely this time. Admiral, have you seen your soldiers? Half of them are currently engaged in what humans call a dance battle with our Marines. Nobody's dying. They're actually having fun. When's the last time a craven warrior had fun that didn't involve hunting something? The Admiral's mouth opened and closed several times, no sound emerging. Your scanner was right about one thing, Mira continued. Humans are unclassifiable because we refuse to be just one thing. And maybe, just maybe, every other species has that potential too. You've just never given them the chance to try. The architect moved closer, its form solidifying slightly. You propose to transform our entire civilization based on, what?
Hope? Chaos?
This power of friendship your species keeps referencing.
Why not? Mira shrugged. It's worked for us so far.
We went from hitting each other with rocks to splitting atoms in a few thousand years. We've got a guy who strapped himself to a controlled explosion just to see if he could reach space.
And he did.
Then we did it again, but bigger. We're the species that looked at deadly radiation and figured out how to use it to heat burritos. She paused, looking around the room at thousands of different forms of life, each one unique, each one with potential. But more than that, her voice softened, we're the species that sees beauty in diversity. Our home planet has millions of different life forms, and we're trying to save all of them, even the ones that inconvenience us. Even the mosquitoes, and trust me, nobody likes mosquitoes. Not even mosquitoes like mosquitoes. A ripple of confused laughter went through the chamber. You want to know why your scanner can't classify us?
Mira asked.
Because it's trying to put us in a box, and humans don't do boxes. We see a box and we either think outside it, stand on it to reach something higher, or turn it into a fort. Usually all three. The High Arbitrator pulsed thoughtfully. If we agree to this, and I stress if, what assurance do we have that humanity won't simply conquer the galaxy through this friendship you speak of? None, Mira admitted cheerfully. But let me ask you something. In all your thousands of years of classification and control, how many wars have you prevented? How many species have gone extinct because they were classified as non-viable? How many potential alliances never formed because you declared two species incompatible?
Silence.
Besides, she added with a grin, we already have conquered you kind of. Check your personal devices. Every being in the chamber pulled out their communication devices. Each screen showed the same thing, millions of positive reviews about various aspects of the station, but also suggestions for improvement, recipes for something called fusion cuisine, and invitations to various human cultural events. The annual chili cook-off is next week, Mira mentioned casually. Admiral Korth, the Marines specifically requested you as a judge. Apparently, your species' heat tolerance is legendary. They want to see if you can handle Ghost Pepper Charlie's infinity sauce. Despite himself, the Admiral's tentacles writhed with interest.
This? Infinity sauce.
Is it a challenge? The greatest challenge your taste buds will ever face, Mira confirmed solemnly. 3 Craven warriors have already signed up. They're forming a team with some humans. They're calling themselves the Burn Unit. The entire chamber was now checking their devices, seeing invitations, cultural exchanges, and collaborative projects. The humans had spent 24 hours not planning invasion or revenge, but integration. This is unprecedented, the architect mused. No species has ever responded to a potential threat with dinner invitations. And meme wars, Sarah's voice crackled over the intercom. Don't forget the meme wars. The Zentari are surprisingly good at them.
Who knew?
The High Arbitrator rose, its crystalline form shimmering with decision.
The Council will vote.
All in favor of suspending the classification system for a trial period and allowing free interspecies interaction. The vote wasn't unanimous, it never was. But when the light of counted votes faded, the majority was clear. Motion passed, the arbitrator announced, sounding somewhat surprised. May the universe help us all. Oh, it will, Mira said, standing to leave. Humans have this saying, hold my beer and watch this. It's basically our species' motto. You're about to see what happens when an entire galaxy learns what that means. As she walked toward the door, the Admiral called out.
Dr. Chen.
This infinity sauce, is it truly that formidable? Mira turned back with a smile that was pure mischief. Admiral, it's so hot, we have to sign waivers to eat it. Legal waivers. That should tell you everything you need to know about humans. We need legal protection from our own food choices, and we eat it anyway. The scanner behind them finally gave up trying to classify humanity and simply displayed a new message.
Species, human.
Classification, yes. Threat level, friend-shaped. Warning, will adopt anything. Secondary warning, resistance is futile, but unnecessary. Recommendation, join them for dinner. And so the galaxy learned the most important lesson about humanity. We're not the apex predators. We're not the ultimate warriors. We're not the supreme intelligence. We're the species that looked at a universe full of strangers and said, want to be friends? And somehow, against all logic, it worked. The colony ship was returned within 6 hours, its passengers telling wild stories about their time in captivity that included organizing a jazz band with their guards, teaching alien captors poker, and winning their freedom in a tournament, and somehow convincing the entire security team to go on strike for better working conditions. The Infinity Sauce Challenge became a galactic phenomenon. The Admiral did finish it, barely, and earned humanity's eternal respect. He also earned the nickname Iron Stomach Korth, which he wore with pride despite not having an actual stomach.
And the scanner?
It never worked properly again. Every time someone tried to classify a species, it just displayed, ask the humans. They'll probably try to be friends with it. Which, in the end, was the most accurate classification system the galaxy ever had.
The end.
Subscribe and like to my channel for more sci-fi stories.